Welcome back. It's always good to have you. Today, I'm purposefully going to start talking a little bit more about the person of Jesus. I'm going to kind of walk through various studies on him. So the video today is going to run a little bit longer than normal, as are a few more that are coming up, as I enter into a little bit deeper discussion on Jesus Christ and who he is. So, I hope you stay with me. I hope you learned something. And let's get going. I love it when packages come. It's not very often that I get to order stuff, but this week I have quite a few art supplies and things coming in and got 2 packages. It's time to open them. This one's kind of obvious, just from the box. It's a mini canvas print rack. I'm gonna have an art show in just a few months and I need a place to hold my prints. So I hope this is about the right size. Let's open it and find out. Oh, it's just perfect. I had little bitty paintings. This is gonna be great. Put all my little prints in here and people can look through them. I love it. All right, 1 package down, 1 to go. This one, I have no idea what's in this one. You ready? Let's open it up. And this, you gotta move over, buddy. I don't want to hurt you. This one's taped a lot too. Looks like it's overfilled with stuff. I'm so afraid I'm gonna cut whatever's right underneath here. Ugh. Alright. Packing slip. There we go. Alright. Bubble wrap. Oh. Yeah, better not pop that. If I do, my dog goes nuts. Alright, we have tiny. Oh, you want to see? Want to see? Teeny tiny little canvases. So we got a bunch of these. Let's see, what else do we have? This is aluminum, little sheets of aluminum. I'm gonna do my inks on. Oh, this is so much fun. What's this one? What, you interested too? A tiny little watercolor pad. I can do my watercolors on this little guy. Oh, a different kind of watercolor pad. What's this? Forgot. This is a canvas pad. I ordered 2 of these. I've just never seen them before. I think it's like sheets of paper that aren't paper though. They're actually canvas in a pad. Interesting. Oh, I was almost out of ultramarine blue paint. I got some paint. What's in here? Oh, photo bags to hold some of my prints in that I'm going to have made. Huh? All right. Madison wanted to bring Chihuahua to school this morning, or not to school, but on the way to school in the car. So he came with us. He seems really happy, but he seems kind of concerned at the same time. What do you think, Chihuahua? Sometimes he looks out the window and he's like just so happy. But right now he looks a little nervous. We're almost back home. So another package just came today. It's kind of like Christmas over here. I didn't expect this one till tomorrow. Let's see what's in it. Yes, it's my new inks. I've never tried these kinds before. It's a new brand, bunch of new colors. Awesome. All right, well, I have all this new art stuff, so I guess it's time to paint. Let's paint. So as I'm painting today, I want to tell you a story about Jesus. There's so much to learn about him and his life as you read through the Bible. But today I want to tell you a little bit about, actually, over the next few different vlogs, I want to teach you about different aspects of the person of Jesus. This comes from a study called See Jesus by Paul Miller. But anyway, this first thing that I want to talk to you about is the compassion that Jesus has for people. This first story comes from the Bible in Luke 7, verses 11 through 17, if you want to read it on your own. It's about a widow from a city called Nain. So picture this. There's this city with maybe 300 to 500 people in the city. A mother's son has died, but it's not just a mother's son, it's a mother's only son. Even though I think he's an older child, maybe in his 20s or so. That's sort of a guess on my part. But not only has she lost her only child, earlier it says that she's a widow, so she had also lost her husband. Back in the ancient Near East, men were so important in that culture. So much so that if a woman lost every man in her family, her husband, her son, she was destitute. It would be tough for her to find a place to live, to find a job, to support herself, to live. She would be poor. And this lady now had lost everything. So picture this. This widow who's lost her child, the funeral procession for her son is underway, is happening. And back then, all the people in town would come out for the funerals. And they had this procession going on where they had it was like a basket, an open basket where the dead person would be laying, and they had pallbearers just like we do today that would carry that person out of the town, because the graveyard was always outside of the town to the east. And so the whole city would show up for a funeral procession. The women would lead the procession. There would be pallbearers holding the basket with the body. There would be a group of mourning women and flute players accompanying the procession. These were actually quite often paid positions where people would come and just cry out really loud, just mourning and grieving. So picture it, this procession of the funerals going on, heading out of town, hundreds of people. Now there was another group of people coming into town, and that was Jesus and a lot of his followers, maybe hundreds or even thousands of people, but a huge group coming into the town. And these two groups, the funeral procession and Jesus and his followers, sort of meet up. And one group is going out of the city and the other group is coming into the city. Oh, Jesus. I love Jesus. I love what he does. All through his life, you see how amazing he is. And he's leading this group of people into the town. And when he sees the funeral procession coming toward him, he zeroes in on this mother who has lost everything, who is so sad and grieving and mourning. And Jesus sees her. I mean, he doesn't just see her in passing. He really, really sees her. Just like he really, really sees you. And whatever it is that you're going through in life, he sees you. He's not distracted by all the other things going on around him. He sees you. And he doesn't just see this lady, he has compassion on her. The Bible says that his heart went out to her. And you can kind of picture that. When you have somebody you have compassion on, your heart goes out to them and you want to go up and help them. And he does go up to her. The Bible says in verse 13, "And when the Lord saw her, he had compassion on her and said to her, 'Do not weep.'" Do not weep. Don't cry. She's just lost her only son. Why in the world would he tell her not to cry? It seems odd, doesn't it? But let me ask you, if you had a child, let's say maybe 3 years old or so, who fell and scraped his knee and he came crying to you because it hurt, and he's crying and he's crying, and you can hug your child and say, "Don't cry. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. Let's go fix it. We can make it better." And you can say that things are going to be better, even though that child may think, "I'm going to die. This hurts so bad." As a mother who's experienced many things, including scrapes on knees, you can honestly say it's going to be okay, because you know that you can bandage that cut up or that scrape up, and that it's going to heal, and the pain's going to go away, and that he's going to be all right. That's why you can say, "Don't cry, it's going to be okay." So when Jesus tells this mother, don't cry, he knows something that we don't know. He knows something that this mother doesn't know yet. He knows that everything truly is going to be okay. And he does something surprising. He touches the casket, which is something that people would never have done back then. Never. Because if you touch anything of a dead person, then you're defiled. That was the greatest of all defilings. But you know what? Jesus is kind of different. And when he touches things, he can make them clean. And when he touches the casket, it's so shocking that the entire procession stops. And Jesus says, young man, I say to you, arise. And the dead man sat up and began to speak. Could you imagine being in the audience, being in the crowd, whether you're on Jesus's crowd side or the funeral procession side, and you see this happen, you witness this child or this young adult coming back to life? How amazed would you be? And you know what? Think. What if you were Jesus and you were the one who brought this person back to life and it really worked? How tempted would we be to take all the praise and glory and go, yeah, look at me, look what I can do. And maybe you'd want to go on book tour and make a movie about it and let the whole world know what you just did so that you could get the glory for it. I know I'd be tempted to do that. And then I'd probably set up different tents around, moving from place to place, saying, bring your dead, bring your sick. I'm fantastic and I can heal everybody. But Jesus didn't do that. In fact, he didn't even seem to want the glory. He didn't look at the crowds and get all pompous and puffed up at all. Rather, he kept his focus on the mother. And the Bible tells us that after he brought this young man back to life, he gave him to his mother. Because you see, Jesus loved this mother, this grieving mother, and he kept his eyes on her all the way through the miracle, all the way to the end. He didn't look at himself. He didn't look at the crowds for glory. He looked at her and cared for her really, really well. And it's so beautiful that he did this for her. The compassion that we see in Jesus is such a huge part of his personality because he just genuinely loved her. He didn't see her as a project to take care of or to do to look good in front of others. He didn't see her maybe as a stepping stone in his ministry. No, he saw her as a beautiful person who was hurting and needed some help. And he gave it to her. In the Bible, the word compassion is used more than any other word to describe Jesus's emotions. He was a compassionate person. You see that over and over and over in the Gospels. And I love that. I love that that word is used because it's so tender and personal, which is exactly who he is. You know, Jesus also died, but in a different way, came back to life, and now sits at the right hand of the Father. But he still loves us. He still has compassion on us. He still helps us, just like he did that mother. Not only does he know exactly what you're going through, but he's able to reach out with very specific ways to help you. When I study Jesus and learn more about him, I always ask myself, how can I apply what I've learned about him in my own life? Even if I can't be perfect like him, how can I grow to be more like him? And I think this is a great place for us to start with compassion. Ask God to show you someone who needs compassion, because they're around you. But look for those people who are really struggling, and maybe they just need somebody to see them and to reach out to them with compassion and to love them and to care about them. We can do that for people. We need each other. People need each other. We know that. You know that. So let's not forget that and ignore it. Let's be others-centered and make a difference in people's lives, because you can. I know you can, and I'm sure that you already are in so many ways. And I love you for that. Anyway, that's it for today. And it was a joy to be able to talk to you about the compassion of Christ. And next time I come back, we'll be talking about some other aspect of Jesus. So we'll see you soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.